Parked on the back bumper of Andrew Lively. Lively trying to pick up his first checkered flag in the Late Model Sportsman. Smith going to hop to the outside, going to make him earn it here. Smith all over the back bumper of Andrew Lively. Battled for position number 1. The win in heat race number 2 for the Fleet Break Atlantic Sportsman. Going to come down to 3 laps. Smith is there, keeping him honest, right on the back bumper of the 25. Lively trying to hold on for his first checkered flag in a late model. 2 laps to go. Smith looking to the outside. Poking the nose of the RJD Automotive. Number 94 now goes, he looked to the inside. Could not get there. Out of turn 2, white flag for Lively. Down the back straightaway, can Smith get him here? This was where he was strong the last lap. Lively, great exit. Off of 2, sails it into 3 and 4. The rookie is going to victory lane. Checkered flag for Andrew Lively. That's awesome. He had to hold off one of the best in the business to pick up his first checkered flag in a late model. Ladies and gentlemen, limited experience in this race car. He moved from Legends to Sportsman this year. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for him. This is huge. Andrew Lively's a heat race winner. WeldPro, Presidential Ventilation, Quick. Among the sponsors on the 25, I know they've got a ton of sponsors. Head to the Lively Motorsports Facebook page. They do a phenomenal job on social media. Rolling backwards, Leighton Harrison.
I don't know why we keep using that. Anyways, welcome into Tim's Corner Live, episode number 50. Tim Terry, Denver Magic, Dylan Langell. Boys, it's been a busy week. Number 1, you turn the keys back in, the show's still here, so I guess we're fine, right?
Yeah, everything's fine. Everything's great.
Everything's great. Yeah,
great.
Absolutely. Paul didn't set the world on fire, so we're good on that, right, Paul?
Not yet. It's still early yet.
Absolutely. And Dylan, you're all ready to go. Big news in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, and even PEI yesterday. Restrictions starting to lift, gathering limits starting to come back. You get to play some you get to play some hockey. You get to watch some hockey next week too, right?
Well, I was just going to say, firstly, I'm a gentle driver, so we wouldn't go completely off.
Okay. By the way, the best thing from the Clash was Ice Cube's performance, because he said driving slow will hurt your health or something like that. The first thing I thought of was Dylan Langell, because he's not the fastest driver in the world, if everybody knows the drift. But you're still healthy, right?
He's run more races than you have, Tim.
Yeah, 1.
Maybe we'll make it 2 this summer, but very exciting news. I mean, really across the country, where some restrictions are being lifted, some are just dropped like the hammer when you're trying to get going in a racetrack. But very promising here in Nova Scotia. Gathering limits are being boosted up. There's rumors that Higsy and New Brunswick may be lifting more. So we got out of this hole here during the winter, and hopefully it's it's pointing to a good summer and springtime and fall coming up here with racing season, where the past 2 years, the restrictions have been kind of untimely, where racing season's about to get going and then stuff kind of blows up.
Brakes kind of get put on everything and it all comes to a halt. But
only hockey season was messed up now this time so far.
Yeah, so far, knock on wood. And hopefully we get to going racing. We're going to talk to somebody that is going racing here in about, actually, I think he's doing the road course at Firm. So probably about a day and a half or so. Danny Chisholm is going to join us at the end of the show. For those that didn't catch the late announcement, Danny's going to join us. He's on the road to Florida right now. So excited to have him. We're going to have Andrew Lively on the show a little bit later on as well. Packed lineup here this evening. So excited to get to it. So let's get to it. Let's start with, well, we have 2 more schedules to talk about, guys. It's starting to roll in and it's getting to that point. So we'll start with the Shediac Center for Speed with their schedule. Came out last week, I think Thursday, I think it was, and on the screen for you now. There's some conflicts in there, and everything says it's subject to change, whatever else. So what is on the screen is on the screen. And Denver, the first 2 things that really catch up to me, and we have it on the schedule. July 17th, Pro Stock 150. It's scheduled to up to $10,000 to win. And the August 14th Sportsman race is $7,500 to win. There's some big street stock races in there. There's the Maritime All-Star Sportsman Series. There's the Maritime Street Stock Series on July 17th. There's some extra big money on the line, but that's just the Coles notes for you that are on the screen. And obviously Atlantic Championship at the end of the season. So pretty solid schedule for those guys. Denver looks like 6 weekends.
Yeah, it was a tough 2021 season at the Center for Speed. They dealt with a lot and only got to run a handful of races. They lost their big weekend on the Atlantic Championship. So this looks like a huge comeback season. How can you not look at those big prize payouts and not have your eyebrows raised? $7,500 for a sportsman race. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but Speed Weekend had that much maybe like 1 year. And other than that, I don't know if anything's ever topped that.
I don't think so recently. I think back to the early 2000s where you're getting a bunch of race cars to the racetrack, and you got the 70, 80 cars, and there was big money for sportsmen back then. Recent times, we're talking the last 20 years. I think that's probably the biggest 2-win, minus bonuses, because I know there was a big race down at Lake Doucette back about 10 years ago where Steve Ross took away a bag full of cash. But Dylan, I know you're excited for Shediac. The July 2nd event is one that you're looking at.
Yeah, that'll be my first time getting the Shediac, where I'm going to be helping out with the Maritime All-Star Sportsman Series in the announcer booth. So looking forward to working with Craig McFetridge and the whole crew there. So yeah, the Canada Day weekend, we're going to be going there for a 100-lapper. That's actually going to be the second race on the mass schedule. It kicks off at Late Doucette Motor Speedway. We got a special guest to talk with that. We're going to talk with their schedule here in a moment too. But, it's interesting, boys, with that July 17th date. I mean, that is a big pro stock race before the biggest pro stock race of the summer, aside from maybe the Fredericton 250. The IWK 250 is right after that. So, some drivers could be going there looking to make some extra cash with 10 grand in purse money, basically. That could set you up for a very good IWK 250. But at the same time, if you have a bad weekend in Shediac there, it could lead to a really bad weekend coming up in Riverside. So it'll be interesting to see who throws their hat in there, but hats off to Shediac again. Denver alluded that they had some tough times with the Weil family. Unfortunately, an untimely death around the Atlantic Championships is what canceled that. So we're looking for a fun year. I'm looking forward to getting up to Shediac. It's the last paved oval I have not been to in the Maritimes. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be a fun little time, and we'll wait and see the announcements as they come available from Shediac for the 2022 season. Speaking about Lake Doucette, let's throw their schedule on the screen now and talk about that schedule. And it kicks off with that big date, Dylan, that you talked about. It is the Mass Series on June 4. Big start for them, early start for them, usually mid-June, and then they hit it with their regular season. You can see those dates there as well, all Sunday afternoons from there on in. But we saw how big the East Coast Mini Stock Tour was down there. How big is this going to be when we see the Maritime All-Star Sportsman Series? They had the Riverside Lobster 100 a couple of years ago that our next guest coming up won. But I think since the Napa Sportsman Series, this is probably the biggest race late model-wise that they've had.
Yeah, and I like it too that this will be the opener for the Mass Series. It's going to be the inaugural race as well, and a couple of changes. So a Saturday race at Lake Doucette Motor Speedway, so all the passionate fans will have to shake off the morning cobwebs there on a Saturday and get to the track. But I like it for the sense where, it's heavy on the Nova Scotian drivers. Craig McPetridge posted they're almost at 30 registered drivers. Some guys coming back, some guys kind of making their debut in sports and racing. But I like how it's at the beginning of the year because it's going to be the furthest race for a lot of drivers, sans the Late Doucette Motor Speedway drivers, who I'm sure are going to throw their hat in the ring there. But it gets that long journey out of the way. Practically Scotia kicks off a week or two before that, probably. You get that long date out of the way. It's going to be a great race because that track produces great racing. And it's going to be a big event. I mean, those sports and races in the past, we've heard stories. They will bring people, and the people will come in the stands, and I'm sure the fans, the passionate fans of Lake Doucette Motor Speedway will be there on June 4th, and I'll be going down there that day too. So I'm looking forward to be back in Southwest Nova Scotia again. The Clare area, looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting down there a couple of times. My visits will be during that regular season deal because June 4th, we're at Petty for the East Coast International Pro Stock Tour. But Denver, I know it's one on your bucket list to get down to because you've heard so many great things about it. I see Tony Claremont's watching. Want to say hello to Tony. Drop us a question or a comment down below. Let us know what you think of these schedules too, because this is going to be an exciting season. But Denver, I know you're ready to go to at least one of these races and get Lake Doucette off the bucket list, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at this schedule and trying to figure, what date's going to work best. That July 31st date, that's the New Brunswick Day long weekend. That might be an option. Might have to do some work with Meredith to maybe schedule in a pit stop at Lululemon or something. Yeah,
the boss.
Might have to that might be an expensive weekend because there might have to be some Lululemon gift cards handed out. But that's a long weekend, and the Sundays can be hard. It's 7 hours, I'd say, from at least from Yarmouth to Miramichi or Fredericton or whatnot. So that long weekend date, that's intriguing. We'll see how things go, and we'll see how much money I have to drop at Lululemon to make it work.
I mean, there's no excuse. If I can do Miramichi to Lake Doucette twice in one season overnight, there's no excuse, right?
I don't drink energy drinks.
I mean, you'll have to find something else, co-pilot something to keep you up and at it. But definitely worth the drive. I can tell you that. If you're a race fan, you've never been, you have to be there. If you are a driver, get your 4-cylinder car, get your sportsman car, hop in the rig, and head down to Lake Doucette Motor Speedway to put on and see some great racing, and the hospitality second to none as well. Ed LeBlanc says he made Miramichi in 6 hours, Denver, so you can do it. I don't know how fast he was driving, but he was driving a lot faster than what I was. We'll just put it at that. Coming up now, we'll and I'm going to screw Paul up here, of course. There we go. Our first guest on the show knows a thing or two about Lake Doucette Motor Speedway. It's the driver of the number 53, multi-time champion at Lake Doucette, and knows a thing or two about that high-banked half-mile oval. Steve MacPhee. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How's the winter been so far? Are you guys? I know you got a lot of cars. Are you guys ready for this season coming up, or do you got some more tuning to do?
Actually, we haven't done too much yet this year, but my car's in the garage waiting. But the kids' cars are still in the trailer. They haven't come out.
Well, they have to get at it, right?
Eventually, yeah. Yeah, we'll get there eventually. I usually wait till the last minute and then have to scramble.
Absolutely. You'll get there, I'm sure. We're live and interactive with Steve MacPhee. If you have a question or a comment, be sure to drop it down in the comment section, and we'll get it to Steve. So for those that don't know, you have a history before going to Lake Doucette Motor Speedway in your racing career. So how did you get started in all this racing racket?
I started in, I guess hobby stock, it was Duke's back then at Scotia Speedworld. So that's in a 78 Fairmont, I guess it was. But that's how I started.
So that would have been back in the time with all those H features and G features and all the cars, right?
There was probably 200 cars then. There was A, B, C, D, mate. I can't remember now. It's been so long. So there was a lot of cars there, though.
So what do you remember about those days? Obviously, we were, for the most part, past the B feature days now, which kind of, is a little lower on the alphabet soup. But what do you remember about those days, having to qualify and seeing all those cars at a racetrack?
It was Well, I was late teenager, I guess. So it was, the thrill of it was pretty cool, but there was a lot of good cars, a lot of good drivers there. So I had a lot to learn back then too.
So how do we go from the 90s at Scotia Speedworld down the highway a little bit to Lake Doucette, where we currently are?
A huge difference because, basically when I jumped in my first Sportsman in 2015, it was, I thought it was going to be easy, and it's definitely not. Not even close.
A little bit of a difference in between the two, right?
Oh, unreal. Yeah, I wasn't expecting I had no clue how to make them cars handle when I bought that car. So it was a learning curve.
And different from Scotia Speed, where we're talking a 3/10 mile oval, little bit of banking, kind of a D shape on the back, and then you go to Lake Doucette, where it's essentially 5 corners up a hill, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you get some pretty good speed down the backstretch.
For those that have never been to Lake Doucette Motor Speedway, we've asked the guests before that we've had on, but how do you explain a lap at Lake Doucette? How do you explain how to get around that place without giving away all your secrets?
I pretty well run whatever groove I need to run, but it's once you get out front, you do just like every other track, right? You use the whole track, and it's definitely unique, but it's definitely a fun track.
Absolutely, and on a hill too. So it's I know the big misconception. I think it's hard on sportsman gear, to get up there, hard to find your way around. Can we debunk that tonight for those that are on the fence about this Maritime All-Star Sportsman Series?
I pretty well use pretty close to the same setup to go wherever, so it's not that much different. Like I would say to the guys that are coming, bring your setup that you'd normally use and tweak it from there, right? It's pretty good. Like turns 3 and 4 are pretty common to Riverside, maybe not quite as banked, but close. And then turn 1, and you just got to go with the flow there.
1, 2, and 3, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
You've been racing at Lake Doucette for a while now. For this area to have a race like the Maritime All-Star Sportsman Series in its first year, in its very first race, to come to Yarmouth and come to Lake Doucette Motor Speedway, how big is that, not only for the racetrack but for the area?
I think it's gonna be huge. Actually, I'm actually quite excited that it's our first race, plus it's the first tour race, so I think it's gonna be pretty good. I obviously got to get working on my car.
And for those that don't know, like we've said it on the show before, that the sportsman count at Lake Doucette, besides Scotia Speedworld, is the biggest car count in Atlantic Canada when it comes to late model sportsmen. So for those that haven't been to Lake Doucette to see a sportsman race, what do they expect to see as a fan coming up on June 4?
We definitely at Lake Doucette put on a good show. The sportsmen's are awesome. we got tons of 4 cylinders, and the stock V8's grown drastically over the last few years. So I think we got before COVID, we'd fill the stand. It was nothing to have 800 fans there on a weekend. It's unreal.
And for those that don't know, the last big major sportsman race, and we kind of touched on it before we came on air, is the Riverside Lobster 100 a couple of years ago. And, Travis Roma and the Millers, and I think Kirk Ryan was down there. And out of all those cars that were there and the strong competition, you came out on top. So does that put any pressure on you, knowing that the last big sportsman race that was there was the trophy sitting in your trophy case?
No, not really. It's depends, I guess, where you qualify and where you end up and how many cars are on the track like that. I think for our 100 lapper, I think we had 14. So we didn't have and I qualified on the pole. So I stayed away from trouble right out of the get-go. So, but Travis was right on my rear end the whole day. So it was fun though. It was a good day.
And looking forward to seeing some more great sportsman races at Lake Doucette. The comments are rolling in, and I see Mr. Saturday Night over there. Dylan, what do you have on social already?
Yeah, she's already starting to pile up here. So if you got a question for Steve, you can leave your comment below and we'll get to him. I guess we'll, who are you referring to exactly, Tim?
Kyle Hines.
I was going to say, got a couple of comments already from Kyle. He wrote, I heard Steve is retiring. Are the rumors true?
No.
Okay.
No, he's just being a smart ass.
He's also wondering, Steve, to ask you about your first race at Late Doucette Motor Speedway.
My first race? Oh boy. I made 4 laps and that was it. We demolished the car pretty much. In my very first race at Late Doucette. Actually, I think it was 4 laps, cost me $4,000 is exactly what it was. I think
what happened?
One of the cars lost their brakes and got me in the quarter panel and drove me into the wall, and he ended up upside down, and I took off in an ambulance a little while later, and that was it. And took us, I think, 6 weeks to rebuild the car to get it back on the track with a lot of help.
What were your first thoughts when you rolled on that track? Going from a Scotia Speedworld to that behemoth of a track.
I did well when I bought my first Sportsman. I went and practiced a fair bit, but it's twice as fast as Scotia. Like even when I go up there now, race Lake Doucette on a weekly basis, and then go to Scotia just for a fun weekend. I mean, you got to get out there and practice all 3 practices because it takes a while to know where to. I mean, I'm used to keeping my foot on the pedal for quite a while. At Lake Doucette, down up there is on and off. So.
Tony Claremont wrote, hi, is Steve. Hope to see you at Lake Doucette Motor Speedway this season. Stacy Clements also wrote, hi, bud, see you this year. So a few people will be going to see you. And a guy who I hope to see at Lake Doucette in the summertime, Jordan Vino, who's going to be doing a mixture of pro stock and sportsman racing. He wrote, what gears are you guys running down there? Still 5.14?
Well, he's probably running Ford, I guess. 4 gear, but we're running all what are we running? 543s, I think so. I got 2 sets, one for Scotia and one for Lake Doucette and Riverside. So
Steve, we've heard the different drivers talk about the gear changes with those sportsmen. Does it take a long time to change that up if you're going from one track to another pretty quick?
No. Well, I don't have a hoist, so it takes us about an hour probably. It's not too bad. Okay. No, it's not bad. And that's 2 of them. Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, there's many nights I go to Scotia on Friday night, have to come home and change them to go to our track. So it doesn't take long.
Okay. Ed LeBlanc says 5.14. So he does confirm that.
Okay, there you go.
So if you have a question for Steve here, leave them in the comments, folks. Tim?
I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit that Dylan didn't get to after he talked about your first race. You talked about a rollover. There was a rollover last year that you guys had to fix a Honda Civic on or a Cavalier on. And when you guys left the racetrack with that car that JJ rolled, he told me, never coming back. It's going to the scrapyard. Mom's upset because they wrecked her race car. And it came back later on because I think we were in Fredericton. I'm going through on Speed Weekend and I see a car that says keep up or keep on the whatever was on the hood, and it went back to victory lane. So how did you guys take a car that was destroyed in turn 3 and bring it back into a winning race car?
We got looking at it and it basically needed a front clip, and I went to actually CarStar in Yarmouth, and they did a phenomenal job putting it back together and put a couple new horns on it, straightened out the other side, I guess. And we come home and, well, we basically threw on some other hood and tenders and bumper and all that, and away we went. And I mean, the car's a good car, so that's why we didn't want to really junk it. So it looks hard, but it works good.
Absolutely. And I know you guys, four-cylinder wise, have had a history, obviously, with the Cavaliers and Tam and the boys racing, and you've dabbled in it as well. But I want to talk about the Civics because you guys jumped on the East Coast mini stock tour the last couple of years and did the touring up and down the provinces, and went to PEI and did that and what have you. So how important is it to have those Civics in there, and how much is it to jump for you to jump from a late model Sportsman down to a Honda Civic?
I didn't find the transition bad. Some guys have a real hard time with it, but I don't find it bad. I mean, even JJ jumps out of his mother's car into his car, and he doesn't seem to really bother him neither. I mean, I did it one whole summer and in and out, and it wasn't bad at all. Definitely, the Hondas are a little less horsepower for sure, but they're pretty. I didn't find it bad.
I see Kyle Hines said that was the most timely rollover for me. Gave me time to get fixed after wrecking in Heat 1. Kyle doesn't wreck race cars, does he?
No. He definitely got a scratch.
Mentioned the East Coast Mini Stock Tour. What's the favorite memory of running up and down the road? Because you guys have done a lot of racing on that tour. You and the boys up and down the road.
I really like our weekends. Like PEI last year was that's when we all get away and go and just take a whole weekend and go racing. I love it, like, because we're all together. I mean, I don't know how much Shay's gonna race this year since he's got a 8-week-old baby now, so I'm not sure what he's gonna do, and I'm basically leaving up to JJ what he where we're gonna end up for the tour. I mean, we're definitely gonna run because I sold my car, so I just wanted to focus on my Sportsman. But we still got both Hondas, so we'll see how it goes.
And to that point, and I'll bring back a story that I was talking to Jerome Kehoe about in Sydney at the last race of the season. He said Sean Tucker came up to me and he said, I don't know how you guys haul from Sydney, or used to haul from Sydney all the way down to do the Maritime Pro Stock Tour races. It's a long haul for you guys. You're on the opposite end of the province going up the road, going from Yarmouth to PEI to Sydney to Speedway 660. It's a lot of dedication. And not only for you guys is it one car, it's multiple cars to haul up and down the road. So how big of a dedication factor is it for you guys to make sure this all works?
It's pretty big. It's well, we got the one trailer will fit 2 cars, so it'll fit both Hondas or one Honda and a Sportsman. So if it works out, if the 4 is running somewhere where we're running with the Sportsman, I can get one Honda, one Sportsman, right? So, but yeah, it's a lot. Sydney was a long haul. It's definitely, what is it? Sydney, I think, is 8 hours for us hauling a trailer, probably. Like, that's the thing of living in Yarmouth. If you want to play hockey, sport, any kind of traveling sports, of course, racing, you're going to travel.
We caught a little bit on the B-roll of you racing with Mr. Morris at the end of the season there, and that race was locked up for you guys until a flat tire with, I think, 3 laps or 4 laps to go. Talk about that young upstart kid that moved from a V8 stock, or he's not really a kid, but moving up from the V8 stock up into a Sportsman and kind of turning heads in his first full year.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Actually, Jason did very well. I mean, he's got his dad there backing him, right? I mean, Paul been doing this forever, right? So I'm sure he's got a lot of pointers from his dad, but he did very well. He had a good year.
Absolutely, it's good to see the car count as a whole come up there. We're live and interactive with Steve MacPhee. I see some comments rolling in, but before we go over to social media, Denver, what do you have for Mr. MacPhee?
Well, Steve, welcome on to the show tonight. It's a pleasure to have you on. First thing I want to ask you, bucket list. What's left on your racing resume that you want to check off going forward?
Probably. Well, I want to go to Andy Ganesh. I've been to Andy Ganesh, but I only got to run the one time I did go. I only ran the heat race, and then I ended up broken an upper control arm mount. But that's definitely definitely there. I mean, I made it to Shediac, I guess. I haven't been to the 660 except with the kids. So, but that's definitely where I want to go try.
You really kind of seemed to turn a page this year. You know, I was at a couple of the races at Scotia that you were at, and you were running pretty competitive with that Sportsman. You know, how's you know, do you see yourself running much at Scotia going forward too?
I enjoy going to Scotia. It's definitely hard on a Friday to get away because we got to leave at dinner time to get up there, right? So, but I do enjoy getting up there a couple times a year. Yeah, for sure.
What do you think of all the big races? And I know you guys, how many laps do you typically run for a feature in Yarmouth?
30.
30. So you see, you know, the Maritime All-Star Sportsman Series, there have, you know, 150 lap races. Petty's got 4 big races, 100 laps. There's a lot of big races for the sportsman class, you know, really starting to come around. What do you think of all those big races, especially where you guys only run typically 30 laps?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I've done the 100 lapper, and I have attempted to do one other one, but overheated in Scotia. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I did the one here in Yarmouth. We actually got a break in the middle, which was very nice. But I mean, it's as long as the car can handle it, I guess I'll try my best.
Before I throw it over to Dylan, I had one more question. I just lost my train of thought. I need to think for a sec. I had a brain fart. Dylan, you take over and go to social media. I had a question for Steve, and I just totally lost my mind.
Oh boy, that was a first for everything.
Yeah, right. It only took 50 episodes to do it, right?
I'll take over for a quick moment. Tony Leonard wrote, "Good racer never tells the truth."
Yeah, I try.
Ian Delver wrote, "Hey Steve, where is your most challenging track you've been to?"
Oh, hold on. What did you? Who did you say that was?
Deviller.
DeViller.
DeViller. I don't know.
DeViller.
DeViller. Sorry, I threw an extra L in there by accident. Sorry about that.
It's good to see Ian's watching though. Steve, go ahead.
Definitely Shediac. I struggled pretty hard at Shediac when I got to Shediac. We had a good weekend, but I couldn't figure that track out for the life of me. I did all the practices. I ran as much as I possibly could, and I struggled there the most out of any track I've been to yet.
Was it because of just how flat it is, or? Yeah,
that probably. I probably half the car, probably half me. Probably just learning where to lift or where to brake, and it was definitely a challenge. Yeah, I went home frustrated at myself. So, but overall, it's still a fun weekend. We got away. So.
Sean Pierce is watching, and that's a guy who started racing full time down there at LDMS, doing the sports and racing. He wrote, "Good to race with you this summer." How cool was it to have Sean join everyone down in the sports and series at Lake Doucette Motor Speedway?
Awesome. I've never seen such a positive guy ever. Like, it don't matter if his car's tore apart or motors are blown. He's always in a good mood. It's good to see because most guys aren't.
He also wrote, Steve, that we need to do the IWK 250 weekend this year. So you and him can load your sportsman cars together and maybe ride up on the Friday.
Yeah, well, is that I'm not sure. I don't got the thing. That must be a Mass Tour weekend. Yeah, I'll probably be there.
Are there any of the other Mass states that you're maybe looking at there, Steve, to maybe hop on with, or any of them?
Yeah, I'm going to try to do, ours for sure, Scotia, at least 2 in Riverside, because one date is actually our oldest son's getting married, so I definitely won't be there for that one. And I'll see about, Shediac 1 and Sydney. Them are long trips. Sydney's definitely a long trip for us, so we'll see. And it all depends on the mini stock tour, right? So
yeah. Austin Sharon's watching, their mini stock driver. He wrote, "Can we rock paper scissors for the 17 on the mini stock tour?"
Can we rock, paper? Yeah, no. That's probably, I'm sure that'll be in the family for a little while longer.
Chris Wilson wrote, ask Steve about all the truck driving championships he's won. Duke can wheel anything big or small.
Yeah, I've won a few of those. Yeah. So was Chris.
So you're talking the big rigs.
Yeah. Me and my wife own a trucking company, but I've done, I don't know, 7 or 8 provincials. I think I won, and then I've got two seconds and a third at nationals. I think. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you. That's a TAM question.
So what goes into a trucking championship? Is it a course? Is it a time trial? What exactly entails with that?
The trucking thing is you got to do a written test. You do a pre-trip on the truck, and you got to find the defects that are wrong with it, and then you do a big obstacle course, and you're timed on it as well, right? So.
Okay, pretty neat.
Yeah.
That looks like all we got for now here on social media. Again, we have Steve here for a little bit. The whole MacPhee clan or racers, if you have any questions for him or his family.
So to that point, Chris Wilson has a modified, a street stock. Have you ever asked him about, switching a ride for a night?
Oh yeah, we've talked. Yeah, I'd love to try the modified. Love to. I wish it was a little closer. I'd really like to have one, but too far to travel.
We'll meet in the middle, go to Petty Raceway. You can run the modified for a night. He might be able to run a Sportsman or a mini stock or something. You guys can switch up, right?
Great. Maybe I'll call him tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask about the little issue that we had at the fun day. We were talking back and forth about, drivers having some fun during the autograph session. And I think Mr. Jedry might have challenged Dominic Hanna to come back. Have you heard from Dominic since the end of the season? Are we going to see the 84 back at all?
I don't think so, but you never know. But as of right now, I don't think so. I haven't really talked to him since Lake Doucette, actually, but you never know. Dominic's full of surprises.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to this 2022 season. You mentioned maybe scaling back with some of the 4-cylinder stuff, but what are the goals for 2022? What would you be happy with? Is there anything on that bucket list that you want to check off for sure in the win column?
Like I said, I really hope to do decent at Riverside. It's always been a track that if you don't like Riverside, I mean, it's a beautiful place. It's fun. It's a nice weekend away for us. And I'm really looking forward to going there and hopefully you always hope to do decent where you go, but I guess that's be a good. And actually, we're talking about going to Newfoundland too, but we'll see how. We actually talked to you about it last summer, so we'll see how that goes too at some point.
I can tell you that Mike James has some big ideas, and we were actually chatting back and forth about some mini stock stuff. So I know their schedule's not out yet. I know there's a couple announcements to come. So if not this year, maybe next year. But I know it's in the head of Newfoundland to get over there. I guess we'll expand that. Is there any racetrack that maybe you haven't tried yet besides Newfoundland that you want to get on and get some laps in?
I'd like to get up to 660. Honestly, I'd like to get up there. That's actually, it's pretty simple for us. We just jump on the boat and we're 45 minutes from there. It's actually, that's a fun trip too. I've never had my Sportsman there, but I've had the kids there. So I do enjoy going there. Now, if I get my car there, who knows, but it would be fun. They got some pretty big races there for Sportsmen. So.
Absolutely. Denver, did you remember your question yet?
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
I had a moment, to say the least.
We all have them.
Yes. So, Steve, what I was going to ask you before I totally drew a blank, Yarmouth is your home track, and with the Maritime All-Star Sportsman Series coming, who would you like to see from anywhere in the Maritimes come to that race? To challenge. There's nothing like defending your home turf and beating the best at your home track. So, who would you like to see? Come race, put the challenge out there to any driver in Atlantic Canada.
Wow. Geez. I mean, I hope a whole bunch come to make it a good field, but the pinpoint one, I don't really have anybody to pinpoint really, but I hope I have a good weekend.
What would it mean to win that race? It would be history making. It would be the very first race ever run in that series. What would it mean for Steve MacPhee to be the first winner?
That'd be pretty awesome. Yeah. I was pretty happy to win the 100 lapper here there a couple of years ago. It was pretty good. I mean, we got a lot of backing, and so hopefully it's be a good weekend to go, I guess.
So if you win the first one, would that maybe sway you a little bit and persuade you to run the whole season if you start out leading the points?
It probably wouldn't help. Definitely won't be at the 10th, September 10th. I know that much, but
Tim, I haven't seen the rule book, but Tim may be a substitute driver.
Yeah. Dylan, do you know anything about substitute drivers or anything else? I mean, you're probably available if Steve wanted a driver, but do you know anything about that?
I'd be safe. I wouldn't push it too hard. I'll tell you that much. I protect the equipment.
Oh, well, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
There you go.
If you're looking for a starting Parker that can maybe coast around.
That's all we need. Go turn laps.
I'm sure Craig McFector just watching, or we'll get an answer from him at some point. I didn't read the rule book. I'll be the first to admit I haven't read the Mass rule book yet. But that might be something to take a look at going on down the road. I had a conversation down here today with somebody about racing destinations, and Lake Doucette is one of those that in the Maritimes you don't really think about, but at the end of the day, for me, you can say it, like you go to Yarmouth for a weekend. You mentioned going away to Sydney and going away to PEI and going away to all these places. For somebody that's on the fence and maybe has June 4 circled, or for some that maybe can't make that first race, maybe they want to get down for a Sunday afternoon and enjoy some racing. Yarmouth is not only there's a racetrack there, but it's also a destination as well. There's places to eat, places to go in Yarmouth. For those that don't know, kind of sell us the town a little bit and why they should come to not only Lake Doucette but to see a race in Yarmouth.
Oh, well, the down here, just the atmosphere down here is great. I mean, there's tons to see. I mean, our coastline is like absolutely beautiful. So it's I mean, I've been here, 25 years. I mean, I don't plan on ever leaving. And I'm not from here, so.
And I know there's all kinds of destinations. Tuscan Falls, I know, has a place in Halifax now, but that was one of my destinations every time I went down. The racetrack itself, you talk about the atmosphere and the hospitality at the racetrack. It's different than anywhere we go. And I'm sure you can speak to that. You've been everywhere too. Oh yeah,
definitely. I mean, it's, I guess usually we're all one big happy family. Usually, we've all had our moments there, but usually.
And then there's the chicken barbecue, or the get together usually at the end of the season with the fun day and whatever else. So it's the only banquet that I know that everybody gets along at the end of the day, unless something happened on the racetrack. But it's usually a get together. Have a couple of drinks, have some chicken. It's always a good time. The hospitality there, and the atmosphere I find is second to none.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's A1. Yeah, for sure.
So we got a couple of more minutes to make last call on social. We got Andrew Lively coming up here in just a few moments time, but looking forward to this 2022 season and beyond. I kind of joked with JJ last year. I said, so, you've got 4 cylinders, you got Cavaliers, you've got Hondas, you're good in that, moving up. And how JJ is, kind of gets it in his head. So I said, so when's Dad retiring to get into a sportsman car so you can hop in one? And he said, I'd like it sooner rather than later. So let's ask you, when is JJ and Shay's building a family, whatever, racing will always be here. So when are the boys getting into a sportsman car?
Whenever they can afford it. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
That is probably the right answer. And I'm sure JJ is listening to that too, and I'm sure he's starting to stack pennies now.
He may be, yeah. He may be. He's got to remember he's got a brother that's a welder now, so maybe they can build one someday.
There you go. I know there's a lot of people that help you out on your team. You don't do it alone. Who's on the pit crew that helps you out every single week?
The regulars would be LJ and Jeremy Lewis. I mean, of course, my two boys. And Tristan comes whenever he can, which is my oldest son. And I mean, JP helps when he's not racing. If we're going away, he usually travels with us. And I get a lot of advice from Mike Banks. He helps me. He's my go-to guy if I'm stuck. So
we're going to go back to social media and Dylan one more time, but I do see Scott Williams is watching Mr. Honda. He's one of those guys that I've been trying to track down to get on the show because I'm sure we could share a couple of stories, but he was talking about the most welcoming racetrack, but you have the race car that for those that were there a couple of years ago that he rolled over down the front straightaway when he was racing the V8 stocks. So how much of an influence has Scott been, at least to get started in the Honda stuff?
Scott actually, when I first bought that car, well, Darren's old car, I talked to Scott quite a bit. I didn't have a clue, nothing about Hondas. And we still do struggle once in a while getting in the setup, but we are learning slowly. I get the Sunfires down pack, but the Hondas are a little more, definitely harder to get set up. Definitely.
Just a little different, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Four cylinders is about the same thing. And then everything else comes different. Dylan, what else do you got over there?
Well, I'm just looking and, Jordan says that I could take care of a van too.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Austin Sharon wrote, the guys in the pits are some of the best guys to race with. Just more compliments to the good crew down there. Trevor Marine wrote, awesome job, Steve MacPhee. See you in Yarmouth soon.
We'll see you there.
And it seems to be pretty much drying up there. But Steve, how you're how much are you looking forward to the racing year? Family changes. With the kid having the kid. Is that your first grandchild? Second? What's the story with that?
Oh, actually, our oldest son Tristan has Kelly. He just turned 1 actually on the 8th. So he was our first, and then Shay's little girl Tegan is 8 weeks tomorrow, I think. So yeah, it's me and Tam's been having a blast when we get them. So it's being a papa is different, but I love it.
I was just gonna ask, what's the nickname? Is it Grampy, Papa? Well, what are you to the grandchildren?
Papa, but we'll leave it up to them. I guess they'll call me whatever they want. I guess, but I'm aiming for Papa. You
got to put Papa on the car. Papa Steve.
I just might. Yeah, Papa MacPhee. Yeah.
Sean's got another story here. Sean Pierce, he wrote, Steve guys are always willing to help. We replaced the rad and never lost the lap. And, Sean did have some hard luck there. You were mentioning in 2021. It seemed like almost every weekend something happened to that 21 car.
He did. Yeah. And I mean, he pits, I think he was right beside us there was one between us, I guess. But we were right there. And I mean, we try to help whoever's close by, right? We help Lloyd Judry. We help Mike. I mean, we'll help whoever, really, I guess, if they need it, right? So
Tony Claremont wrote, I'm hoping to get the race truck ready for the V8 stock this race season, number 30.
Perfect. I hope he does come. That's awesome.
And one more for me before I throw back to Tim. Who do you think is going to be your fiercest competitor in that sportsman division at Lake Doucette this year?
Oh, boy. There's going to be a whole bunch of them, I think. If 30 cars show up, I got a feeling 29 are going to be we're all going to be pretty competitive, I think. I guess the only good thing about it is over the Miller guys, boys, is I got a lot of track time there, a lot of seat time there. So, but it's, I guess we'll see.
We'll see if Steve MacPhee or any of the other regulars at Lake Doucette Motor Speedway can hold off the other stars of mass coming up this summer, Tim.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun race. If you don't have June 4th marked on your calendar, definitely look into that and get down there. If not for the June 4th race, but for one of those races for sure at Lake Doucette Motor Speedway. Steve, sponsors on the car. I know you guys are a big help with your own business on the side of the cars, but who else makes it happen for you guys?
Well, definitely TST Trucking and Bayside RV. That's all we have right at the moment. Yeah.
And they prepare fast race cars and put them in victory lane, regardless what division it's in. Steve, this has been fun. Look forward to catching up with you at Lake Doucette this season. Congratulations on all the success coming in, and good luck, and get in the garage for that June 4th date.
All right. Thanks, guys.
That's Steve MacPhee, driver of the number 53. And Denver, we've got something exciting. We've got a giveaway on the Tim's Corner TV side.
We do have a giveaway. A special promotion. And you know what, Tim? Not only can you win for yourself, but you can also win for your favorite driver.
Absolutely. So for those that don't know, if you are a subscriber to timscorner.tv, or you want to be a subscriber, this is for any purchase that you make on timscorner.tv this month. You can head over there, sign up, enjoy the racing library that we have of over 50 events in the last 2 years, and then head to timscorner.ca/promo, fill out the ballot, and you could win race tickets to either the Scotia Speedworld season opener for the CarStar Weekly Series, date to be announced. Hopefully their schedule's out in the next week and a half, or the Speedway Miramichi Spring Smash. And when I called Barry, I'll tell the story because I'm sure Barry's watching. I called Barry and I said, this is what we're doing. Oh, well, you're going to throw a pit pass towards their favorite driver too. So he wants to sweeten the pot a little bit. So not only are you going to win race tickets, we're going to pick one winner on March 9th on this show to win race tickets to the season opener, whether it's in Miramichi or Scotia, you can make your choice. Their favorite driver, which is on that ballot, is going to win $50 cash and going to win a pit pass to the Spring Smash at Speedway Miramichi. So for those that are still subscribed to Tim's Corner, it gives you a little bit of a caveat to head over timscorner.ca/promo, fill out the ballot. You must make a purchase in the month of February, from February 1 to February 28th. We will make that draw and announce the winner on March 9th. So be sure to head over there and check out everything that's over there. We've got some great races on the Tim's Corner platform from all the racetracks that we did cover last year. We went to 6 racetracks plus everything else that we did. So head over there, check it out, timscorner.tv and timscorner.ca/promo. Fill out the ballot for your chance to win coming up here in the next month or so. Let's roll into our next guest. And our next guest, speaking of late model sportsman drivers, had a pretty good season himself too. Driver of the number 25 at Scotia Speedworld, Andrew Lively. Andrew, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me on again.
It's been a while. I went back. It was episode number 5. We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of this show, so it's good to look back and where we were last year. And where we were last year was you were preparing a late model sportsman car, and now you've got a bunch of podium finishes and a couple of heat wins, a trip to Sydney under your belt. So I guess we'll sum it up. How was your 2021?
I think it was good. I mean, we were pretty happy with the season we had. Like, I think for the first year we had decent expectations, but I think we definitely had better results than even we expected. As the season went, we definitely learned a lot. It's definitely it's not a legend car. So we had some struggles with setups and different things, and a little bit of driver issues here and there. But I think overall, I would rank it as a pretty good year.
We just came off the B-roll of you racing with Devin Smith at the end of the season for a podium finish. And there was a couple of times this season where you held off Devin Smith for a heat race win, for a couple of podium finishes in your first year in that division, moving from a legend car. How neat is that to move in, not only for the rookie conversation, but also overall, and trying to race with guys like Devin and Aaron and Alex Johnson and those guys that have, years under their belts?
I mean, I think it's that sportsman division it's such a good group of guys and a lot of veteran drivers. I really enjoyed it. Devin's definitely a class act to race against. He's probably definitely one of the cleanest drivers I think I've ever raced against. You got to have respect for those guys because they work on their cars and they put all the hours in, and that's why they're as good as they are. So, Alex is good competition as well. We're working extremely hard this winter to hopefully not be holding guys off and hopefully be able to start passing some of them.
Absolutely. We are live and interactive with Andrew Lively. Be sure to drop a question or a comment, and we'll get it on the show here this evening. Keep Dylan Langell busy over there on Facebook land. I know the start of the season didn't go the way that you wanted to, but to finish off there, to start the season, motor issues, and then getting by that. So for the first rookie start of the season, it didn't go very well. It ended well, but it didn't go very well to start, right?
No, we were actually practicing. We were practicing 2 days before race season started, and we actually broke a crank in the engine. So obviously, with it being a brand new car, we never had backup engines. We never had anything. So luckily, R&D and Chad Henderson up there, they did us a great favor and kind of snuck us in as fast as they could. And they were waiting for parts and things like that. And luckily, I think we only missed 2 races is what we ended up missing from it. Kind of devastating way to start your season. I haven't missed a race since starting racing, so it kind of sucks sitting back and watching those two first races. But it definitely got us extremely motivated once the season rolled around.
You were at the racetrack though, because wasn't that the first couple of weeks where you were switching cars back and forth with Paul and Robbie?
Yes, actually, yeah. I think actually, I want to say the very first one, the Shriners race, which was obviously, we blew it up 2 days prior to it. So I wasn't too interested in being at a racetrack. So the second week, I obviously was getting that itch, and Robbie wanted his car to be run. So I ran that Legend race that first week of the season, I guess, was the first one I ran. So it was fun. We definitely got Robbie's program off to a good start. We worked hard on a couple of his cars and got his cars really quick, and it was good to see Braden have so much good success with his cars.
And we just talked to Steve MacPhee about going from a sportsman car down to a mini stock and going back and forth. How much of an adjustment period was it? Obviously, you're so used to the Legend car, but how much of an adjustment period was it to hop in a sportsman car and get all that practice, and then all of a sudden, hey, I'm going to go Legends racing?
It was definitely, based on the crew, something that wasn't advised to be trying to, because I think the first week we ran double, we ran both. And I actually found, truthfully, that once I was in the Legend car, it really relaxed me for the sportsman car, because those Legend cars are just completely out of control. So any bit of adrenaline you got left, you pretty much have out of your system by about lap 3 in a Legend car. So it's kind of, Legend cars you got to run so aggressively versus the sportsman cars you have to kind of really be a little smoother. So probably not the best idea, I think, to be trying to learn how to drive a sportsman car and then jumping into a Legend car. It just doesn't, I think it teaches you, it gets you a little too rammy to be in a sportsman car, I think, if you're jumping back and forth. But I definitely still, the Legend car is definitely, I would say, still one of the most fun cars to drive.
You're back in a full-bodied race car, which you haven't been since your Thunder days. So now you get to lean into people a little bit if you need to, sort of thing. If you're too wide with Legend car, it's not recommended. So
No.
do you get that little sense of I'm back in that full-bodied race car that if I need to, I can kind of lean into somebody if I have to?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I like you said, I've been, the Civic days, we definitely did it. It definitely took me a little bit of time. I mean, obviously we practiced pre-season by ourselves, got used to the size of the car and things like that, but you really had to practice closing up those gaps. And, you're thinking that you're right on a car and you're sitting there with, 1.5 feet, 2 feet between you. Once we started getting a little used to how to lean on cars, you can really use it for your advantage for sure. But I really did enjoy it. I find it's, I don't want to say back to racing, but it's, those Legends, like you said, you don't want to be bumping tires in Legend cars. You'd be flipping down the front straightaway.
We saw a couple of those this season out of that division too. Being in that late model division, and we mentioned about when we were talking to Steve about it growing in car count. Obviously, Lake Doucette is a great example, but Scotia seeing at the end of the season 18, 20, 24 cars come over and race. How neat is it to be a part of that in your rookie season and seeing guys like Sheldon Pemberton and Darren Wallage and Aaron Boutlier come back and do some racing? Oh,
I think it's wicked. I think we couldn't have picked a better time to get back involved in sportsman racing. It's Craig McFetrich and them. I mean, they got huge things going right now with that Mass Tour. You know, the car counts look like they're going to be huge, and they seem like they're huge in a lot of places too. So I don't think we picked any better time to move into a sportsman car, and I'm really interested to run a few. I don't think we're going to run full time Mass Tour for sure. Like, I don't think that's our plan. I think weekly is definitely our full plan, but I'd like to catch a few of those races and see how we stack up against you know, guys from other places. You know, Cape Breton gave us a little bit of taste of that, but you know, it'd be nice to run the tour with, you know, on a regular basis with a few of them.
Before we dive into the Mass stuff, and I know Paul's got some B-roll of it, that heat race in Sydney that got all kinds of traction when Jerome was going back and forth. It looked like you had that heat race win.
Yeah.
First time in Sydney in a late model car. You've been there in a legend car before. How neat was that to battle with two local stars?
Oh yeah, it was. I love Sydney there. Sydney is definitely a different track. It's I don't want to say rough, but I mean, it's definitely a driver's track. You really got to get the car kind of, you know, through the bumps and out of the corners properly, and just really kind of stay in it. You know, we had a decent car there, I think. We you know, we had a great chance at a heat win there. We unfortunately cut a tire down there just in the wreck. Prior to that, we cut a front tire down. So as you can see through the heat race, the car definitely didn't want to turn anymore.
and having some 2 and 3 wide moves with Sean and Jerome probably didn't help it either.
No, probably not. No. Luckily, didn't get into Sean too hard. I think, you know, last lap there, we definitely just couldn't hold on to the car any more than we were, and I think we slid up into him a little bit in 1 and 2, which kind of probably opened the door for Kehoe there.
For somebody that was at the racetrack when Greg Dow had it, to what we saw that weekend with Lyndon and Kyle doing all the work, and there's more work to come and more announcements to come. Talk about the transition as a race car driver going in there, and maybe the excitement of what's to come as a guy that's going to go for a couple of races and see that place.
I found it crazy. I mean, we showed up for the Friday practice, and you know, I was talking to Lyndon a little bit, and you know, he was talking about, you know, they were going to move some grandstands around and level out the pits a little more and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, that's great. And that's, you know, just talking about when his plans to do it were. And he was like, oh, we're doing all that tonight. And I was like, oh, okay. So we showed up even like from the Friday into the Saturday. And even then the track was completely different, even from those points. So from us being there last year, in the legend car to being back there again in the sportsman, you know, they made a lot of changes, and you know, if they keep continuing like that, they're going to have a ridiculously nice track in the next coming years.
And I don't want to let the cat out of the bag a whole lot. I know Lyndon's been busy plowing. I guess you guys have been getting some weather up there. But yeah, so he's been busy plowing and doing some other stuff. I did catch Lyndon before we come on the show tonight, and there's a big announcement to come from Sydney. Their schedule is coming out here in the next couple of days. If it's not at the end of this week, it's the start of next week, but just keep on timscorner.ca and keep on the Sydney Speedway social, because I can tell you, and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but there's something big coming. And with that, we'll go over to Dylan Langell. Dylan, what do you got on social?
Can we speculate?
You've been speculating for the last couple of weeks, but my lips are sealed.
You sealed on that can you're drinking there, pal.
Hey, cheer wine. I know Derek Hilchey asked why I'm not in Florida yet. This is why I'm not in Florida, is cheer wine.
Okay, question for Tim first. Is that actually what it's all hyped up to be?
It is for me. It's good for me. It's like a better version of Dr. Pepper.
Okay.
But it's the go-to every time I come down here. By the way, I had Rowdy Energy for the first time. Didn't live up to the hype that I hyped Cheerwine at. Just leave it at that.
Oh, it's so it finished second like he did at the Clash.
Oh, wow. Damn.
Anyways, Andrew, it's great to have you on here, pal. Stacey Clements wrote right away here, been watching this fella grow for a long time. I'm sure you've also been watching Stacey for a long time. I guess any memories of him racing back in the day, and how about his resurgence with the Vintage Series?
Oh, I know that vintage series, man. That is a cool series. I recently was doing some stuff with Peter Lawrence and just talking about the vintage series and what it's become, and I find it's incredible what they're doing and how big the series has grown too. I just think it's a really cool series. I could see definitely down the road once my once I want to move on to something new, it would be something I would definitely consider doing.
Jordan Vino wrote, "Can't wait to run with Andrew some this year." And you got to tangle with Jordan a little bit when he came back to sports and racing at Scotia this year or last year, right?
I don't think I've ever raced against Jordan yet. I really don't. I think he raced the Shriners Classic, and that was the one we had the blown up motor for. And I don't think I've ever raced against Jordan. I think maybe one legend race ever, maybe, and I think that was it. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. Jordan, our cars that Mike McKenzie's getting worked on now, so Jordan's actually been a bit of a help to us, just trying to get us squared away on a few things.
How cool was it to see him moving up the ranks to the Pro Stock division, getting a top 10 at the end of the year, and really improving there? What do you think about that?
Oh, I think anytime you get top 10s in the Pro Stock division, I mean, it's such a competitive series with a lot of money, and I think anytime you get a top 10 in that series, it's a very impressive day.
Tony Claremont's wondering if you're going to be racing down at like Doucette Motor Speedway for the opener of Mass this year or any of the other Sundays.
Oh, I think we're, our schedule is usually pretty open for new ideas and new places. So, I think once again, our highest priority is Scotia. But I definitely want to run definitely a handful of away races, including Riverside, and then whatever else, I guess, depends on the weekends and the timing of what it is. But it's definitely 100% something I would highly consider.
A question for me here, with 2021, there was a championship with the Livelies. Shane getting one with Craig helping out there. How cool is it for Craig to get that championship and him helping out? No,
I think that's a cool thing. Those boys worked. I've seen them for years. Do what they do, and they've had some struggles, and they've had some high moments that they thought they were going to have some good equipment, and it didn't pan out. So it was definitely a really good thing to see Craig have all the success he did, and for all of them, even Presidential Ventilation being on the car, they're a big supporter of me, and it was good to see all of them have that success.
Jordan quipped up here on Facebook, "That legend race, I was happy not to get run over by you guys when you were lapping me. I don't know how you guys drive them."
Yeah, they're definitely they're not just something you're going to jump in and run. But I mean, I don't think Jordan would have an issue over time getting used to them. But it's definitely, I think I've seen a few people try to jump in them, and they're just not something you just jump in and run. I think Megan Perrott, I think she's tried it. I think a few of them have tried it, and you're talking about some good drivers in cars, and it just takes some time to get used to them. But I'm sure if Jordan had one for at least a few months, he'd catch on to it in a hurry.
And when you were hopping in and out of Robbie Thompson's car there, did you find the adjustment? Because you did legend racing for a while. You dabble sports and then the sportsman breaks and you get back in hopscotching. Did you find maybe it took a lap or two? Okay, well, I'm not in the legend anymore. Or, oh boy, I'm not in the sportsman car anymore.
I never got back in because Robbie bought both my cars. So he had both of my cars. So this year when I ran all his cars, I never ever actually got back into my own car. He purchased Cody Quinn's car. He had that car, so we did some playing with that, and I think truthfully that was probably one of the quickest cars I think he had. And then we played a little bit with that 1250 car he had, that 02 car, which I believe he still has, which was kind of fun because that was a 1250 car, which is something I haven't been in since 2019. I really missed that power of that 1250 car when you just you have to manhandle a little bit. First, the FZ09 car was kind of more of a, you had to just be smoother and you had less power to kind of bail you out on stuff. So I enjoyed both, but I mean, even those two cars were completely two different cars to drive.
If you have a question here for Legend Racing, Thunder, Sportsman, we have Andrew Lively here, folks. Tim?
Was that 02 car the one with the gear shift in it? that had like
Oh yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. I think it was. I want to say it was Budweiser. I don't remember what it was. Coors Light maybe.
I think it was Coors
Light.
Light.
It was, the top of it was a tap, right? And when he had that car, I was like, man, I can't drive. There's no way I can drive with this thing on there. But I'm telling you, it actually was better. It was like when you go with the shift, you had the weight of that on the top. That when you went to shift it, it just clicked right in right away.
There was a test session in Halifax that Paul was sitting in the car, and I looked in and he's like, have you ever seen one of these before? I said, no, that's a first. I said, the Ryan Van Orscott Pro Stock had something like that, like something not necessarily the same, but similar. And Paul said, I don't know if I can drive this, but I'm going to be thirsty by the end of it.
Yeah, I know. It was a tap off the top of Giraffe, I guess, but it was actually really cool. I don't know if they had it for road racing or what they were using it for, but I mean that car was I think even with a little bit more time, maybe a couple more practices with that car, I mean I think that could have been just a crazy fast car too. I think most of the stuff Robbie buys, he doesn't seem to mess around. He's definitely got some really good equipment. You know, we definitely had to do some playing with some fine tuning to these tracks, of course, but you know, he's definitely got some rockets for cars.
You mentioned Mike McKenzie. I want to ask about Fred Schofield. You want to talk about guys that have been involved in this sport, and obviously you're in one of Fred's old cars. So how neat is it to have Fred and get that little knowledge at the start from Fred?
I think Fred got us in a wicked starting position. You know, he gave us a lot of information, a lot of things, and you know, we made some changes to the car to better suit my style and what I liked. You know, it took us to probably about halfway through the year before we kind of got it to the point that I really, really like it. I kind of like a little more of an out of control car, I guess, but that's probably back to the legend racing a little bit. But we ended up getting into the off season, and me and my father, we were in the garage one day and basically just tore the car right to nothing and just started taking numbers and measurements on stuff. And we found that the front clip on the car was completely bent up, and we just struggled with that front end of that car all season. Couldn't really figure out why. So, you know, that's why obviously Mike McKenzie has it. I think he's one of the best in the business as far as fabrication and that kind of stuff. So, he's been a huge help to me and in Jordan as well. He's been helping a bit with some stuff as well.
Now, sight unseen, we talked about the Maritime All-Star Sportsman Series having their schedule out presented by Auto World, and Scotia's schedule right now, I think, is, from what I was told by Tara Foster, maybe a week and a half out or so. They're just buttoning up the last couple of things, but you mentioned that Maritime All-Star Sportsman Series. If the schedules work out, is there any event that you're looking on there that you know I want to get to? Obviously, you've been to Sydney before. Is there any other event that you're looking at? Is a Riverside start in the future?
Oh, I mean, I think Riverside. I mean, I loved Riverside in a legend car, and even Civic. I loved it. So I think that's always one high on the list. I don't know why Riverside's we've always had okay cars or decent cars there, but I don't know. I don't like to use the word luck in racing, but we just haven't got that good finish in Riverside that I'd like to get. So I'm going to get pretty stubborn until we actually get a good result there, or we're going to break a lot of stuff doing it.
Absolutely.
But I mean, I don't know. I think Penny would be a ball in a sportsman car, and I think you know 660 still a track I've never been to. It's probably one of the only ones, minus Lake Doucette, that I've never been to that I'd still like to attempt one of these days.
So what else is on that bucket list per se? You mentioned Lake Doucette. Obviously, they've got a sportsman division that's there every single week or every second week. You've got Speedway 660. They've got some big races up there. Is there anything else that you want to scratch off the bucket list, whether it's in a late model sportsman or in a legend car, that you might want to scratch the itch for?
I mean, I'm still have the itch to get into a pro stock one day, but it just that's not a realistic thing. You know, I love to try one just for the fact of, you know, I feel like it maybe be a middle ground between a legend car and a sportsman car, maybe just the big body feel with a little more power, I guess. But you know, racing wise, you know, I guess maybe, you know, I mean, I guess no matter what, for my lifestyle, the weekly series works great for my lifestyle and family life. You know, I guess as the years go on, as you start getting things more and more established, you can kind of start picking away at more and more and more tour races. So, you know, I think that would be, you know, Riverside, I think will be a go for sure. And then I guess whatever other big races. I mean, even that Shediac for 7,500, I didn't see that one yet, but I mean, we were up at Shediac for the Atlantic Championships. And I mean, I love that track. I find it's a fun little track to run. I mean, I think it'd be a ball with a sportsman car. So, you know, that might be a little high on the list now too, especially payouts like that.
It always entices, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's well worth it for that kind of money.
You answered my question about the pro stock, but I kind of want to go back there. I know we've talked about it before in the shop, where it's dedication, it's the time, it's the effort, it's the crew, it's everything else. But we're sitting here maybe 5-10 years down the road, we look back at this. Do you ever see yourself maybe in a pro stock if the right fit works?
I think if the right fits work, I think so. It could. You know, I think money is just such a huge aspect of pro stock racing that I don't think it's even a feasible thing with current budgets compared to what I've heard for numbers. You know, but I would like to before I'm too old to do it. You know, that pro stock game, you know, Swan Waves gave me a little bit of hope that maybe a slightly older guy can actually keep up with the young kids. But it's you know, it would be something that, I mean, of course, I think any maritime driver, you know, that's their end goal of doing. But also, you know, travel. I mean, I got a 12-year-old and 10-year-old, so their schedules are busy enough as it is. So I can't see traveling every weekend really fitting into the schedule.
Well, I mean, if Paul can win legend championships at whatever age he was, you know, we're not going to go down that road, because I know he gets at me every single time. But if he can win those championships, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah, especially in a legend car, right? Like, I mean, Paul would have been late 40s. I don't think he would have been quite 50, but he was in late 40s winning them back to back at that.
I think the last one was 50.
50, it might have been 50, yeah. It was Paul would be 53-ish now, I think.
By the way,
Paul's a young 53, but
I'm sure he felt it at the end of the season though, when he had that wreck with 2 races.
That was I feel bad for the whole team on that one. You know, that's one of the hardest licks I think I've ever seen. I don't know how Gage made out from it. Luckily, he's young enough that he probably didn't get too affected by it. But man, I've never seen a collision like that. Just, you know, as hard as it was, and how beat up that car was, I feel bad for their entire team. And you know, legends are not a cheap race car to own and run. So to take that much damage in a car, especially for Robbie, it's not a great feeling.
And it goes to the testament and the safety of these race cars and the cleanup crew that is at the rescue crew at Scotia Speedworld to make everything happen. I did talk to Paul earlier this week, tried to get Paul on the show, but he's busy on Wednesday nights. He told me as soon as he gets a free Wednesday, he's coming on the show. So fair warning for everybody. That's going to be a fun night when we do it.
Paul would be a good one to have for sure.
Yeah. Denver, what do you got for Andrew Lively?
Well, Andrew, thanks for joining us on the show again.
Sure. Thanks for having me, bud.
First thing I want to throw at you, what are you going to remember most from your rookie season? I will say I got to go down to Scotia for a couple of races, and I was very impressed. You did not look like a rookie on the track. Very impressive season. But what are you going to remember most from the season?
I would say, I don't know. I'd say race one. I mean, race one, we went into race one with, you know, just basically the intentions of that was the first time we've been on track with cars. So, you know, we got in practice. I think I passed a car in practice is all I did. And I think I passed a car in the heat race. And that was the only 2 cars I passed. So that was my only passing experience I had the entire day. So, you know, we walked out of that AJK 50 with a 4th place finish in our first race. So, I mean, I would say that's the most memorable part, you know, because it wasn't anything at all we expected. You know, going into it, that's not, you know, what we expected to happen. You know, and I think just the excitement out of the team of, okay, maybe we got something really good here. I would say that. I mean, we had definitely had a lot of good finishes to follow that. But it was just, I would say that's the most memorable moment for sure.
Looking ahead, 2022, what would you consider to be a successful 2022 season for you and your team?
I mean, I think me and Tim have been talking about this for a while, but definitely a win. I mean, it's starting to get painful.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, honestly. I almost forget what it's like, but luckily we had a championship in there, which kind of helped a little bit. But I don't know. We need a win. That's my thing now. I think I'm going to try to use the Braden Langell approach and just sit there and say, "Yep, screw it. We're just going for wins and just see what happens." Because last year, I mean, as bad as it sounds, missing those first 2 races, I think, was probably one of the more enjoyable seasons I've ever had. It's kind of like the Kyle Gaiman approach when he said he used to skip the first race of the year just so he enjoyed the season, just because he wasn't thinking about points the whole season, right? So I think last year, I mean, it was definitely a lot more relaxing. I definitely didn't get wound up about too much because points were not a concern. So we kind of had fun as a team, and we kind of learned as a team. And you know, I hope that maybe we can just use that same approach this year and just, you know, run as hard as we can and try to go for some wins and, you know, see what happens from it.
So, you know, you mentioned maybe the stress that comes with running for points, but if you go out and get your first win on opening day, is that going to end up in your mind? You know, do you want to get a sportsman championship at Scotia? Because those are tough to win.
Well, I mean, they changed the format too, right? So Scotia used to be kind of a points game that it was almost like you didn't want wins, but they changed the handicap format now. It's all based on your prior week. So, you know, for right now, I mean, there's not really a massive punishment to be winning races. So I think our new approach will be just, you know, trying to go for wins and just see what happens, I guess. You know, if we don't have a great night one night and we try to knock out a few wins, or I'll win, or, you know, I could just take I'll win right about now. But it's, you know, I think that's the goal of the season, just to, you know, get back to winning. And I think all our hard work, I mean, that car hasn't sat this off season. It's been worked on since Sydney. It was unloaded that next day, and it's been torn down and repaired and out. And so we're doing everything we possibly can to make 2022 amazing season.
Not to get too far ahead here, but, you know, because you said you just take any sort of feature win, but looking at all the big races, because you mentioned before how many big races the sportsman class is getting. And I mean, there's some prestigious ones. Scotia has the Shriners Classic. You know, see what the schedule holds, maybe a 100 lapper on the 250 weekend. Yeah. Riverglade, or Petty's got the Riverglade International, the Mike Stevens Memorial, of course, the IWK 250 weekend and Speed Weekend are always big to win. Is there any one particular race that, you know, you would do anything to win?
I mean, I think now, I mean, you know, I'm new to the sportsman game, but I mean, the status around the Shriners Classic seems to be, that's the one that everybody seems to want, especially being a Scotia driver. So, you know, to me, like I said, I mean, I'll take any win right now, and then worry about the big ones later. But you know, if I was going to pick one, that's where I would be shooting for. You know, of course, the other tracks would be amazing to have a lot of those big wins. But I think you just need seat time at some of those tracks, and it's just something we don't have yet. But not saying that it's out of reach. It's just I think going to another track and having that kind of expectation is probably a little unrealistic.
Before I throw it back to Tim, I got one more question for you, Andrew, and it's a question that comes up a lot, or it's a topic, I should say, that comes up a lot, and that's the sportsman class at Scotia. Despite running on Friday night, and, you know, although, you know, Friday night's not an easy night for some people, the sportsman class at Scotia is the biggest sportsman class in the Maritimes. In your opinion, what do you attribute the success of Scotia's sportsman class to? Why is it so much, you know, why is the car counts so much bigger than any of the other sportsman classes?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. I guess to me, the reason why, you know, I'm just guessing here, but I'm saying the reason why I feel like the sportsman class is growing is because, you know, you don't have, you know, like Scotia, you don't have the truck division anymore. You don't have that next jump of level to go from like your, you know, your Neon, your Civics, to your trucks, to your Legends, to whatever. There's just, you don't have all those platforms. So I think a lot of guys now that are either getting into Legends, that are getting a little older and they want to go somewhere, sportsmen just seem to be that area that if you're serious into racing but don't necessarily have the huge funds, it's a perfect place to be, I guess, is the way I see it. So I think that's why you probably see the numbers that you do. You know, and I think that's probably one reason why you're seeing it grow so much too, I guess, is for the fact that, you know, you don't have a lot of those other divisions that you used to have.
Tim, I guess you could say almost less is more, you know, fewer divisions, more cars per division.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I'm going to get yelled at Lawrence and Ken if I ask this question the wrong way. So you're a race fan. You started in the Thunder division. the Thunder division's kind of gone to the wayside a little bit. You know, Dave and Baker and those guys, Kyle Gammon and Jason Pickles, are still there trying to beat the drum and trying to get more people involved in civics and getting involved in the Thunder division. As somebody that's been there before, as a driver and as a race fan, and still being involved in the racetrack and being there every Friday night, what do we have to do to get more participation in the Thunder division?
I don't know. I find that I find that a tricky conversation because me and Kyle have talked about that before, and I don't think running a track is an easy thing to do in any way. I think there's decisions that they have to make that we don't realize, and I'm sure the choices they make is based on finance and based on a lot of other things that maybe we don't think about. But I don't know. I feel like with the Neons and the Civics, I'm trying to think how to word this. I feel like they're both almost the same division to a point. You have your guys that are extremely committed that are in your Neons that are ridiculously fast. You have your guys that are extremely committed in your Civics that are ridiculously fast. But it's hard to have that starter group of people that want to get into the sport, because I think they get in the sport and they get discouraged in a hurry, because a lot of the guys that are hardworking, they've been in it for years, are so good at it that guys come into it and they just can't keep up. So I think it's PEIs. PEIs still do that they have the 4 fun class, plus they have the outlaw class.
Yep.
I think something like that would be, maybe boost car counts. You can get your guys that are, like your Steve Matthews and your Dave Matthews and those guys that are fast in both of their divisions could do an outlaw class, and you could maybe open up the rules a little bit as a stepping stone to other classes to start teaching them, certain aspects that, honestly, they probably already know. They're just doing it in different ways. But then you could still leave a 4 fun class for people that want to come into the class and not spend an insane amount of money just to go have fun. But that's my opinion. I'm not running a track. It's not it's just my opinion. I don't know numbers. I don't know anything. That's just my outside opinion on the class.
If everybody had the right answer, we'd have 200 Dukes cars like we had in the 90s, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Right? I think it's different times too, right? I don't think, I think times have changed. People are busier. Money's different now. 20 years ago, I think sponsorship was probably a little better and different. And I think just racing in general is just different than what it used to be. I don't think it can't be fixed. I just think it's all tracks working together, I think is a major component of it. I think your yearly summit thing is a great idea as far as getting everybody together and come, because you definitely see it in the sportsman class of the different rule packages and stuff. And that's what kind of discourages you from to go to other tracks is, is everybody playing by the same rule package, and is everybody, so, I think they are making, this mass tour, they're definitely making strides at trying to even out all classes, especially in the sportsmen. At least it looks like the gaps are closing up a bit.
I think with every division, we talk sports and street stock, everything. I think everything's getting closer as we go on. We'll make last call on social media now. I know we got Danny Chisholm waiting. Winter Nationals, we're going to talk to Danny about here in just a few moments. You never got to drive the Winter Nationals deal, but you've been there before. So for those, and obviously the border is still a little bit of an issue, but for those that have never been down with a legend car or a Bandolero to Winter Nationals, what can you kind of sell them on this deal that they have coming up next week at Citrus?
I think we went down. I went down my very first year. I own my legend for the first season, and I went down with Corey and Paul. I went down to help them, and man, that's a whole different world down there. Like they, it's 5 days of racing, and any day you're racing. I think 2 of the nights they had open practices those nights, and that's where you give credit to guys like Corey that he's Corey would go every day and be P1 on the board, and he'd stay late practicing and practice to the point that you think he's crazy. But it shows during those, and I think that's the level you got to be to compete down there, because you got the best of the best going down there. And I was extremely impressed. I think when I was down there was a few of the kids, I say kids, but a few of the guys from the Maritimes down there racing, and it was amazing how many guys from the Maritimes had huge success down there with some really big teams and some big money teams.
Yeah, it's always great to see them come in with some success. And I know there's a few that are making their way down there. And obviously Corey and Wayne will be at New Smyrna for those that are watching on Flow that want to cheer on some maritime content. Dylan, do you got anything else there on social?
I got a couple of things here. Firstly, Sean wrote that the wins will come. You guys came a long way in a short time. What do you think of Sean Pierce stepping back into the sportsman division back in 21?
Oh, I think it's wicked. We had, I was over talking to Sean. I forget what weekend it was. We had an issue with a wheel bearing in Sean, which is wicked. Same, not a lot of guys. Some of the problem with owning a Ford car is there's not a lot of guys around with Ford cars. So, Sean was great and lent us a bunch of rear end bearings and stuff for our car, which I think I actually still owe him. But I think it's cool. I think Sean did something that, I think it's hard to play that pro stock game. And I think obviously Sean still has a love of racing. And I think it's great that he made the decision to go back and run sportsman racing instead of trying to, I think there's lots of people that are probably gone broke trying to stick to pro stock racing and trying to stay up there with the big boys. And I think Sean's probably having a ball with it based on what the guys are saying. So I think it's great on him. If he's having fun doing what he's doing, then I think that's all that really matters.
This is from a little earlier when we had Steve MacPhee on. Tam MacPhee wrote just the side track here. Steve went a little blank towards the end, and so did I. Just want to give a shout out to Frank and Uncle Crew Chief, who supported MacPhee Racing in our pits for years. We are very thankful for all their support. And I guess to tie to with you there, Andrew, what do you think about Steve MacPhee and the whole family? He's got the whole crew that does the racing stuff.
Oh, I think that's crazy. I mean, all the credit to him to have the kids racing and him still racing. And, I mean, there's no doubt that racing is a family thing. So for him to be able to do it with the whole family, that's great.
I've heard the drivers that may have been in the pro stock division say, I don't want to go for a one-off in a car that's not mine. I don't want to go in a car which may not be super competitive. But let's say, for example, kind of like with Ryan Van Orscott, how we got a shot with Tom Sims' car, the number 80. Let's say a lower budget pro stock team is just looking for a driver and they say, Andrew, do you want to give for a spin? And maybe it'll be a back of the pack car. Would you do it just to get the experience in a pro stock race?
I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, I think even if you were going to go jump into, say Craig Swanwick's car, I'm not going to jump into that car and be competitive for wins. I think it's just one of those things you have to put seat time in. So I think no matter if you were in a high end car or a low end car, I don't think it would make any difference. I think just seat time is seat time. So yeah, I definitely would take up something like that for sure and just get some seat time and then see where it takes you.
Laurie Hutt's watching, and he wrote, I asked Andrew to try the vintage car in Sydney. He said he didn't want to because it was race day. So if you want to, we can do practice in the spring and you can try it. I will pay for the rental. Oh,
that'd be unreal. We were just talking about that the other day, actually. We were talking about Laurie, and I think that would be a ball, jumping one of those cars. I think they're, I don't know how much different to be from the sportsman car, but I think it would be fun either way. Even just a track rental day to go have some fun.
Yeah, it's an old Monte Carlo he's got. Are there any of the other old cars or I guess vintage cars there that you'd want to get behind the wheel with?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm buddied with Tyler, of course, just from Racing Legends, but I think that car would just be a ball to jump in that thing. And I mean, a few of the boys, man, a couple of those guys. I see Blinkhorn. He just built that new car too. I mean, some of those cars are going to be. I mean, really, you got pro stocks, really.
One last question for me, and we'll throw it back to Tim in Denver to finish up here. Let's make some predictions. Who do you think is going to be the top dog, the hardest guy to compete with in sportsman racing in Nova Scotia? And who do you think is going to win the Pro Stock Tour Championship coming up?
Tough questions. I mean, I think Devin's no doubt. I think he's his consistency and his smartness in a race car, I think he is the man to beat. I think Alex has made, huge gains. I think he's going to be one to beat for sure. And pro stock, I don't know. I don't know if I could rule out Swanwick again. I mean, he seemed to have so much success in that car, and I think that car's really suited him, and I think he can wheel a race car. So I'm going to bet on Swanwick, I guess, again.
think he's going to be a popular choice again, Tim.
I think he will, based on what he put down in 2021. We mentioned off the top of the show, you do probably one of the best jobs when it comes to marketing your sponsors over a season on social media, what have you. Who do you have on there? Give us a shout out to the Facebook page and your social media, and who helps you out to get the car to the racetrack every week?
So, of course, we're still confirming sponsors for this season. But we've confirmed KJ Baird signs. I mean, he does our deckling for us every year, which is an amazing job. I think Well Pro, which was our primary sponsor, they're back on board again. Presidential Ventilation. Janet King's back on again. Simon Says, which is a company that we use at work, great company for work order systems, they're back on. Green Arbor Landscape's back on again. Penny Concrete's back on again. Hibby's Garage is back on again. And Extreme Kettlebell's back on again. We have a couple other sponsors that we just haven't fully confirmed yet, but I can't say anything bad about any of our sponsors. We've had sponsors now since day one of racing that have never left us. But we do our best to maintain the sponsors we do have, because I think in today's racing world, you need sponsors, and they're not easy to get.
And the crew that helps you out to get there, because I know you don't do it alone. There's a bunch of guys that help you out.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we have an amazing crew. My father, Claire, he's the four boys. I mean, they're all really, really committed. My father, Claire, Steve Farrell, Justin Lynch, Mike Oliver, and Ron Dennis. They seem to be at every single race we had, and they seem like every single week at the shop, they're here at least 2-3 nights a week, just making sure everything's absolutely perfect. So you definitely can't run good teams by yourself, especially a sportsman car.
Now, I know we got Danny waiting in the wings, but Paul told me we could go a couple of moments longer tonight, so I'm going to hold him to it. Last thing I want to ask you is the fans. I keep saying, and I'm completely 100% biased in this, that we have the best fans in the business. Everybody from the sign crew to Thomas to everybody else. How neat is it? Obviously, the first couple of races in 20, we didn't have fans. Worked our way back in with COVID restrictions and everything else. And the good news in the province of Nova Scotia today, that it looks like we're going to be back to full capacity in April. How neat is it to race in front of those fans every Friday night?
I think just cool seeing the same ones every week, right? We got the sign crew, which is always very supportive of us. And we also have the Hodder family, which always seem to sit with the sign crew as well. They go every week. Even little Landon there, he's diehard. He's got the neon green hair, everything going on. So it's great having people like that around. I think it's huge for the sport. And it's nice having a support system like that at the racetrack.
And it's always great for them to have great racing to cheer on, and great personalities like yourself too on the racetrack. Andrew, this has been fun. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for all the support that you've had on our crew. And we look forward to seeing that 25 car on the racetrack in 2022.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
That's Andrew Lively, driver of the number 25 late model at Scotia Speedworld. And Denver, speaking of growing teams, we're always looking for more to join ours, and racing season's coming.
Tim, it is coming. I think this weekend maybe is 15 Saturdays before we start racing. So
don't even start.
It's about to get busy, and there's no better way to be involved. Race cars are out of a lot of people's budgets, but it's a great way to get involved. It's a great team, and it's fast paced, it's exciting, and at the end of the day, there's a great rewarding product you can go back and watch. So and it's not just the TV side. Tim, you're looking for people to do a lot of different things. So
social media, writing and everything. It goes back to the Wade Wilson clip, and we don't have it. I told you guys I would get it 2 weeks ago, and I never did. But if you can't, you work on a race car, or maybe you're not affiliated with a race car team and you still want to be a part of the deal, it's always great. And I know we've been talking to a couple of people this week with being down here, and looking forward to adding some events to the schedule. So wherever you are, whether you're in Newfoundland, anywhere in the Maritimes, get a hold of us if you want to be a part of this deal. We're always looking for active partners as well on the sponsorship side. So advertising to fit all budgets, get in contact with me, and we got a new sponsor coming up. We're chat about here later on. But I want to get to this next guest because I know he's getting ready to go racing in Florida for Speed Weeks, because Winter Nationals has expanded to a couple of extra shows. And welcome in Danny Chisholm. Danny, how was the drive?
It was pretty good so far. We really didn't have too many issues. We kind of got down here in a pretty good time. We didn't really stop. We just drove straight through to North Carolina and then spent a couple of days there doing some stuff. And now we just left about 12 o'clock today, and we just got here about an hour ago. So feeling pretty good.
So for those that don't know, Winter Nationals, obviously the last couple of years, last however many years, has been the 1 week, the Monday to Friday, set up on Sunday. There's no practice this year at Citrus, but now it's expanded. So you told me earlier you were racing the road course or getting ready to go to the firm, and there's dirt afterwards. So what's your week entail here?
Yeah. So we're down here. We're pretty close to Jacksonville, actually, that track. So yeah, the plan is to run the road course. We only have the one car. So Scott's done a great job. We have some front suspension made up, the different parts so that we can kind of make this deal quick and easy and have everything ready so that we're not messing around with trying to redo a setup or anything like that. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to try something new. I haven't done any road course racing at all, really, other than a bit of my go-kart days a few years ago. But yeah, I'm just pumped up, get to go practice tomorrow, and then we'll race 2 races Friday and Saturday on the road course, and then load up Saturday night and go to Citrus and get unloaded, get stuff changed over Sunday, and then go racing Monday through Friday.
You mentioned that kart experience, and I know Jerry from ECK watches the show. How important is that limited experience going to be to try to at least get you up to speed on a legend car?
Yeah, I think it definitely will hopefully play a role. I feel like it gives me a bit of an edge to people that have just solely done oval, but I know that a lot of these guys that are going to be coming to this have been running the oval for the last few weeks, so they'll be a lot more experience than I will. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what that exactly, I guess, gives me for experience and learn how to turn right a little bit more these next couple days.
Now at home, you didn't miss a beat running from Bandolero to Legend Car. Obviously, Citrus County Speedway haven't been down for a couple of years with the pandemic and COVID and whatever else. And the challenge per se of not having practice on Sunday and moving it to Monday and getting a couple of extra rounds on Monday. How big is that transition period going to be on Monday, trying to move back and forth?
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be difficult. The biggest thing I feel like that we're gonna kind of struggle with is you only get 6 tires that have to be stickers, so they have to be brand new, and we're gonna have to start Monday morning with brand new tires, not scuffed in at all, and just, I guess, hope and pray that we get enough practice to get the tires worked in. And it's good that everyone else is going to be in that boat, so it's not going to be too bad. But there's going to be those guys with 2 cars that are going to be able to scuff tires in pretty quickly and get their stuff all figured out. So we got kind of a game plan set up on what we're there, and hopefully get up to speed as quick as possible. I have pretty good experience at the track running Citrus. I think 3 years in the Bando, so I don't feel too worried about line or anything like that. But definitely gonna have to figure out how to get around this place in a legend car and make the most of the lap.
We just had Andrew Lively on the show, and he talked about the Maritimers having so much success at Winter Nationals, whether it was you and Abando, Sam Rogers, Owen Marr, and then moving up into the legend cars and Corey and Braden, getting checkered flags and championships. How neat is that to have the Maritimes behind you, kind of cheering you on down here and trying to get up there and trying to make a name for yourself and get a couple of wins and a couple of good finishes against some of the best in the business?
Yeah, it's pretty cool, actually. It's kind of fun to come down here. I know there's a few more guys coming down, and it's kind of nice to have a few more, because then you get someone to kind of lean on or hang out with on those nights when you're not racing or whatever, right? So yeah, I'm excited. We got to do it with the Bando a few times and finished second in the points by like only a few points, and that one still stings this day. So we kind of got to get some redemption down here and hopefully make something happen this week.
Was that the year that we finished off the Friday with flipping cars and time limits and everything else?
Yeah, we got. I remember coming down the backstretch and I saw the underside of a bando and I didn't really let off the gas. It was all or nothing at that point. And I would have won the race per se, but they reverted to the last lap because of transponders and stuff. So, I mean, it all made sense to me, but it still stings going into the last day with the points lead and kind of, I guess, threw it away in a sense on my part. But I think if I get in that position again this year, I'm not going to let one slip out of my hands.
I think the legend is they're still trying to figure out who won that race, but 5 years afterwards, it was one of those finishes that was a little bit chaotic. We're live and interactive with Danny Chisholm. Drop us a question or a comment if you're out there and want to chat with us. Denver, what do you have for Danny?
Well, Danny, first of all, thanks for joining us, and best of luck down there this week. I want to know about some of the drivers you're going to be racing against. It's kind of a melting pot from all over, I guess, North America. Do you know who's going to be down there racing, and who do you think is going to be some of the top challengers?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of tough because everyone kind of, when you're starting off the beginning of the year, everyone's kind of moving up into different divisions and stuff like that. So, I mean, your people that were really good last year in semi-pro are now pros, so not something I really have to worry about. But I definitely, I talked to a few people and asked questions around, but I really don't know exactly who's going to be down there. I always know that there's always someone or 2 or 3 people that show up and that you might have not heard of too much, but they're always super competitive. Like I know in the bandos, a lot of people that won Winter Nationals, you didn't hear of until they won Winter Nationals, and then they're on top. So it's going to be interesting to see who all shows up. I know the road course, I have no idea who's going to be there. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to race against all these new people and kind of get my feet wet with some different guys in a legend car.
You had a strong whole season, I guess, in 2021, but you have lots of momentum heading down there with you. Do you think you can keep, it's been a couple months off, we have a shorter season in Atlantic Canada, but can you carry that momentum from through the summer into the fall down there to Winter Nationals with you?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the interesting part. I always with the bando, I kind of we'd stop racing and then go down to Winter Nationals, and it would always take a day or two. Like the first day was always not my best day, and it kind of always came on at the end of the week. But I'm hoping with this road course and stuff like that is kind of another reason why we're doing it. It's not really we're going to the road course more to kind of knock the rust off everyone and kind of get all prepared for Winter Nationals, because the oval is really the big thing, and that's kind of what we're all aiming for. But a good finish at the road course is definitely what we want, and I feel like we have a good enough car and good enough setup to make that happen. But it'll be interesting to see, what goes on, who's all there, and who's going to be, running. I'm going to be running side by side with there, hopefully for a win.
Peer into the crystal ball. Look past Winter Nationals for the rest of 2022. Do we see you racing anywhere down south after the next week or so, or is this going to be it until you hit the track at Scotia in May?
Well, it's all up in air. I mean, the Florida deal, we decided to run the road course and kind of come down here early, probably maybe 3 weeks ago. So it's really tough to tell. I mean, with COVID and everything and all the restrictions I now see are kind of getting taken away a little bit. Hopefully we'll be able to do some more racing. I think that would be the exciting thing. But I mean, you got to get a COVID test when we come back and stuff like that. So the going down for one day and running a race in Maine isn't really an option, because we have to, go through all those loopholes and stuff like that and try to mess around with that stuff. But if that all kind of fades away, I definitely could see us going down and running a few races in that area, and maybe even going down to nationals at the end of the year. So that's always on the bucket list and stuff, and we'll see how the rest of the year plays out.
Well, fingers crossed. There's a lot of good news, I guess, coming from provinces about kind of lifting some of those restrictions. So I know I'd like to get down to the States and watch a couple races myself. So fingers crossed for that. But I'm going to throw it over to Dylan. Dylan, do you have any returns on social media so far?
No returns as of yet, but Danny, it's great that you're able to hop on there and chat with us. Besides the racing, and we asked Corey this when he was on with us last week. You and the fam doing anything else in Florida? Going to work on your tan, go to Disney World, or is it just business focusing on the racing?
Well, we kind of did all of our fun stuff already, kind of going around, messing around in North Carolina and stuff. The first night that we got to North Carolina, well, we drove straight. We left early in the morning and got to North Carolina around 10 o'clock in the afternoon. So we had a few errands to run and pick some stuff up and get some tires and stuff like that. But then that night we actually went to Chili's with Scott Hall and Michael Cormier, and on the way back we had actually walked there just because it was pretty close to the hotel. And on the way back, me and Scott McLean were walking, the rest of them were in the truck, and Scott just decided, he was like, "You want to race or whatever?" Just like from a stoplight or whatever. And we started running, and a cop pulled up with his lights going, like slid sideways, and they both got out of the car, and they had like their hands on their guns and everything. And they're like, "What are you guys running from?" And they just kind of interrogated us for a few minutes. And then I said we were Canadians, and they kind of understood and started laughing, and then let us carry on our way. But that was kind of the most exciting part so far of the trip.
Okay, I don't know if we're topping that story. Back to you, Tim.
Mic drop. I want to ask about we get some Bandolero kids that are going down for the first time, Sam McDonald and Aiden Christensen, that are going down. You've been in their shoes before. For those that are going down that might be watching for the first time going to an event like this, of this magnitude, what kind of advice can you give them?
I think the biggest thing is just soak it all in. Don't get too, your first couple of years, don't get too like tied up in results or anything like that, and just try to be better every single day. If you can improve your finish every single day, then you're doing something right. So that was kind of always what I took into it. I know the biggest thing is you got to be aggressive. It's not like you're trying to make friends. You just got to go out there and do the best you can and try to make it all happen. So that's kind of my piece of advice. I always just went out there and drove as hard as I could and tried to do as much as I can. So I know that you might not make too many friends, but it doesn't really matter. All that matters is trying to get a win.
We haven't chatted on the show since the Scotia Speedworld Championship, so I guess we'll tie 2021 in with a bow too. How neat was that to get that championship in Halifax? Because I know there was a lot of stiff competition trying for the same goal.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, I'd run, 8 years in bandos and never won a single championship other than my last year there. I won PEI, and it was definitely different to hop in your first year in legend cars and be able to get the championship. It was we didn't really get as many wins per se as we wanted. We were kind of just going into the season not even really caring about points, thinking it's probably not going to even be an option. But as we got in the later parts of the season and kind of got the points lead there, it became a lot better. And I think that I heard Andrew say there earlier on the show talking about the handicap and stuff like that, and that definitely helped a lot. Not having to start the back every single week, being able to kind of actually make the heat races count, and more just go off speed. Because with the bando, I always had to start at the back after like a win or something like that, and then you lose a bunch of points, so you get caught up in a wreck, and then you're out of the points. So I think that it was super cool to get that done, and I'm excited to see what we can do next year and see if we can make it happen again.
You mentioned Scott McLean. Besides maybe losing in a foot race, how big of a help has he been to your program to get going, and all the knowledge that you can pull from him? How neat has it been to have him a part of your program?
Yeah, it's been a huge help. He's down here with us, getting everything looked after and stuff like that. I mean, Scott has taught me a lot over the last year and a bit to how to work on the cars, what I need to do for maintenance, what I need to do to make it run good. And I think it really showed at Scotia. I mean, I would drive up to Pictou 2 or 3 days before Friday and work with Scott on the car every night and just kind of soak it all in and try to learn as much as I could before we went racing. But yeah, I mean, he's really just one of the most knowledgeable people, I feel like, especially around here for legend cars. He's been doing it for quite a few years, and really he just kind of is able to keep a cool head and know how to talk to you and know how to work with you to get the car right, and not like messing around, doesn't get angry. He doesn't, get too hot headed. He just kind of keeps it cool, and that's kind of what gets you to the front, is just having a cool head, not letting other people mess with you, and just doing what you need to do to make it fast and win races.
Now, I know the boys talked to Corey last week about trying to get Scott Hall into a race car and do a couple laps, and the 2 laps that he did at Scotia were scary. How much is it going to take to twist Scott McLean's arm to get him back in a race car for at least one more race?
Oh, I don't know if it's going to be too much of a twist. He definitely still has that itch, and I feel like now that he's been around the legend cars a little bit more, that itch is starting to get a little bit closer, because at the last there of the year, we actually let him get in the legend car and take it out for a little bit. He had lots of fun, so I think it wouldn't be too big of a surprise to see him run a few races here and there in the near future.
That'd be neat to see. I see Austin McDonald has chimed in. Even people in the States think you look suspicious.
Yeah, I can't really make friends anywhere, I guess. But yeah, I guess they said to us, they said something like, I think, Americans don't run too much or something like that. And that was a good laugh. we couldn't understand. We were like, we're just kind of like jogging down the road. It's not like we were sprinting away from anything. We're in the middle of like downtown, like restaurants and McDonald's. Like it's not like we're robbing a bank or anything, but it was funny. It was definitely a story I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Absolutely. It's what these trips down are made of. I know you've got a lot of partners on the race car, and you mentioned Scott McLean and those folks helping out. Who's on the race car to help you get to Florida to Little Gator Legend Cars Winter Nationals?
Yeah, I think, of course, like I talked about Scott, he's been a big help. And I also got to thank King Freight Lines and Rolly and Judy. They've helped me out a lot to make all this happen. I got to thank, of course, my mom and my dad, and for everything they do, for coming down, taking me to all these events, and really giving me the best experience possible and the most fun possible. Of course, I got to thank Corey and Scott Hall for everything they do, getting me into legend cars and kind of get me going and helping out every single time that I need anything. And then, of course, my partners, Bruce Auto Group. We got Bridgetown International, Solution Smith Engineering, of course, Eastern Powder Coating, Ocean Playgrounds, and everyone else who's helped me over the last couple of years getting to the racetrack every week and trying to go out there and contend for some wins.
Well, it's been a successful 2021 leading into this Winter Nationals. Danny, we wish you all the best at the firm and at Citrus, and bring home a couple of checkered flags and maybe a championship back up to the East Coast.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thanks for having me.
That's Danny Chisholm, driver of the number 87 Legend Car, and busy week leading into this, boys. But next week we get a little bit of a break. We are off next week. Note the date on that. February 23rd is our next episode. Dylan, from my understanding, you are with the Lumberjacks next week.
Yeah, the return of hockey back in Nova Scotia with the Maritime Junior A Hockey League. It already returned in New Brunswick. So it's our turn now with new Phase 1. That's going to be taking some getting used to. But new Phase 1, Nova Scotia allows half capacity in most arenas. So hoping that we'll be back with the South Shore Lumberjacks. And that's what I'm going to be doing next Wednesday, is hyping up a crowd for the first time in 2 months, hopefully.
And Denver doesn't have any plans, I don't think, but I'm assuming since Valentine's Day is next week and you already mentioned stuff about Lululemon and everything else, that you probably got plans next Wednesday?
No, actually, because Meredith's going to be in Halifax and I'm going to be in Fredericton. So for me, next Wednesday is going to be schoolwork, but same point, I believe it's the John Blewett III Memorial Modified Race at New Smyrna Speedway. So might have a date with Flow Racing.
If Chris Wilson is still watching, apparently they call it schoolwork these days. We'll leave it at that. Want to thank all our partners that help put on this show as well. And we've got some great marketing partners. And you saw it at the bottom of the screen a couple of times. Want to welcome in New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Excited to meet David today and chat with them and work with them in the future in their big weekend coming up in July. So we'll have more as we go through, but a big thank you to David and the folks at New Hampshire Motor Speedway for coming on board with Tim's Corner. So your summer plans are coming up. The Maritime Pro Stock Tour is off on the 15th to 17th weekend. So if you want something to do and you want to get away, Danny mentioned that border. That's going to be lifted hopefully by then anyway. Don't worry about that. Come on down. We're going to have some good time.
There's a lot going on that weekend, Tim. When you told me that New Hampshire was hopping on, which is super cool. I mean, they have a little dirt track there. They're going to have Friday night dirt racing, the Wheel and Modified Tour Xfinity Series this Saturday, and then the big 300-lap race on the big mile in a little bit. I was actually reading, I guess there's conflicting about how long the track is. Indy thinks it's a little longer and NASCAR doesn't. And you know what? It'll be a fun weekend there. So it's nice to see that they're hopping aboard here.
We will get you down there with like a tape measure or something, because
sure.
we've had the debate at Lake Doucette about how long Lake Doucette is. So Lake Doucette is a half mile, but it's a small half mile because it's measured on the very top, and you don't do that to a racetrack. But I digress. This was a fun show. Big thank you to Steve MacPhee, Andrew Lively, and Danny Chisholm, and everybody that's watched that put this on. Big thank you to Paul Strickland Jr. at Vidane TV. They got some sim racing coming up tomorrow night with the New England, Pennsylvania series, and some more racing coming up. The RBR series is running on Tuesday nights now. And of course, with us at Tim's Corner Live, it's a busy schedule for Paul, isn't it, Paul?
That it is, and we're looking for new dates. So if you're out there in the sim racing world, want to get your league out into the airwaves and entertain the masses, reach out to us. Vidane TV on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, Twitch, all the social media outlets.
And I think this might be the first worldwide episode that we had too, by the way. Paul's in Connecticut. I'm in North Carolina. Denver's in New Brunswick. Dylan's in Nova Scotia. And Danny's in Florida. So I think we hit the worldwide Eastern Seaboard audience tonight. So
Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah.
Worldwide.
Anybody want to do the Pitbull? No, we're good. Okay. The next episode, by the way, I know Tony Leonard was in here tonight. I think we're going to get Tony Leonard on the show. He talked about coming on. We tried to get Joe Hoyt on tonight, the AGM or the executive meeting for the Atlantic Modified Tours tonight, so he couldn't make it. So there's a couple of guests we got in mind for the next show. But enjoy the off week, Valentine's Day, Daytona 500, Speed Weeks. Whatever you're enjoying on the next week or so, there's plenty of racing to digest. Even though it's not in the Maritimes, it is on social media, your favorite sports network. The Olympics are on. Have a great week or so. Enjoy the weather, do whatever. I'm probably going to get comments for that, but nevertheless, we will see you in 2 weeks' time on this show when we say let's go racing. Until then, keep the hammer down. We'll see you at the track.